Now, can you also then provide the committee with any documents related to your internal analysis on the expected benefits to Canadian trade and for exporters with Ecuador under any future free trade agreement?
I think we have a summary document that we could provide on that.
Thank you. There's multiple other trade discussions taking place, such as Canada and the Pacific Alliance, whom Ecuador is also a candidate to join. Can you comment on the Pacific Alliance negotiation, as it's been some time since we've heard about this? GAC states that 8 rounds of negotiations have taken place. Is that accurate? And what is the status?
That is my understanding. 8 rounds have taken place. There has not been one for, I would say, 2 years, probably, at least. It's not my file, so I'm not totally up to speed on it. However, I would say that there are a couple of outstanding issues that are beyond the control of Canada that are preventing the negotiations from moving along.
Now, starting the pre-negotiations with Ecuador, how does that impact our other trade negotiations? Can you list the complete free trade discussions, negotiations that are currently happening that are also taking the time of GAC? So what happens? Are there pauses on other trade negotiations that you're working on so that you can concentrate on one particular?
So we have an excellent team of negotiators at Global Affairs Canada, if I do say so myself, and we are actively engaged on a number of files, as you note. So chief amongst them, active negotiations with ASEAN, the Asian Economic Association group, with Indonesia. I have appeared here as the chief negotiator for Canada-UK. Those negotiations are paused for the moment at the request of the UK. We have those are the major ones. I think they're.
Thank you, Mr. Forsyth.
Baldinelli, Mr. Aria, please, for 6 minutes.
Chair, Mr. Forsyth, welcome back to the committee. In the previous meeting, one of our colleagues remarked that the trade between Canada and Ecuador is so modest, why do we need it? So that was the sort of thought. But we need trade agreements with big markets, small markets, all markets. I think we have 15 agreements covering 51 countries. The more we have, the better. Every small thing helps. And again, in my view, the process of negotiation, many a times, maybe the Canada-UK trade negotiation have been paused. So is with Canada-India, it has been paused. But the process sometimes brings in benefit. Very specifically, 2 days back, I learned one of the demands of Canada in India for the tax exemption for the pension fund investments. I'm told of the $75 billion Canada has invested in India, bulk of it is from our pension plans. I was told that in the last budget in India, early this month, they have given exemptions to pension funds from the income tax provisions. And the only pension funds investing in India are from Canada. So that is the direct benefit. So in my view, it is important that whatever the market we have, Ecuador, or any small market or big market, I think we should continue to do on. A couple of questions, if we can combine that and address. One is that in the last meeting, again, some people came that, why we shouldn't have ISDS. My view is that ISDS provisions, we as Canada, we should look from the interest of Canada, our economy, our corporations, our businesses. Just elaborate slightly on the importance of ISDS. It can vary from market to market. It may not be relevant to every single market we negotiate with, but why that is important in general. And even here you mentioned the expected benefits is moderate. Though it is the benefits is moderate, but how important it is in the bigger picture of Canada having free trade agreement with different countries in different parts of the world. If you can kindly talk on those things.
Thank you for the question, Madam Chair. And I think I'll give the broader answer your broader question and turn to my colleague on ISDS. But I think from a Canadian government perspective, I think to your point to the to the point made with respect to broadening and deepening our trading relationship with as many countries as possible. Part of the government's trade diversification strategy, and so whether that's looking to negotiate with larger countries like Indonesia, groups like Indonesia, or pause negotiations like India and the UK. I think that's all part and parcel of that program. Of course, we do most of our trades with the United States, and it is certainly in Canada's best interest to broaden that as much as possible, to the extent possible. I think it gives. It not only, especially for the smaller countries, though, in the region, it also gives them. It also helps integrate them with other countries, in other supply chains, and I think it provides us with with Canadian companies and exporters with new markets, but also with sources of supply. So totally agree with the statement. And maybe I'll.
Yes, before Mr. East can come on ISDS. Just want you to reconfirm that. Anyway, I lost my. Let's Mr. East answer, then I'll come back to you. I just wanted to make sure that you agree. If we don't negotiate with thinking that the market is small, our competitors will come in, and Canada may lose its advantage. For example, in Ecuador, we have potential to export wheat, and if we are not there, if other countries who have got advantage in wheat production and export, they have free trade agreement, we will lose our advantage.
100% correct. I think that's exactly it, and I think we're not only trying to we're trying to open up markets for exporters, but at the same time we're competing against other countries who are also doing the same for their exporters. So exactly right.
Yes, thank you for the question. So in terms of why we like to include investor-state dispute settlement in our model, I guess I'll cite a few reasons. This is not an exhaustive list, but a few of them. The first is that it's proven to be an investment chapter with an investor-state dispute settlement provisions has proven to be an investment attraction vehicle because it gives it provides the combination of these things provides a stable, predictable environment for Canadian investors when they invest abroad. So it's we've heard from stakeholders it's quite important to carry on to do that, and so that's one reason why. Another reason is that if we were to have a set of obligations in an investment chapter, which is the way we approach things, we feel it's also important to have a means to enforce those obligations. An investor-state dispute settlement is a means to do that. So it's quite important to have the two. And again, our stakeholders have said quite clearly to us that if we're going to have a set of obligations, that it's important to have a means to enforce those obligations. And a third reason is that the set of obligations that you would find in an investment chapter, these international obligations, usually the only means to actually enforce them is through the treaty-based mechanism. So for example, I'll just take an example, an existing agreement, the CIIT, our agreement with the European Union. Were in the future a Canadian investor attempt to invoke the obligations under that treaty before a court in one of the European Union countries, it couldn't do that because the treaty itself states that that's the mechanism to use, and those domestic courts don't have the legal competence to hear those claims. So, but for that mechanism, there'd be no means to actually enforce those obligations. So those are a few reasons.
Thank you very much. Mr. Savard-Tremblay for 6 minutes.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Salutations à nos témoins.
I welcome our guests. You spoke briefly about the sectors which could benefit. What are the sectors which, according to them, should... Why Ecuador? What is the point?
Thank you for the question, Madam Chair. And so yes.
Merci pour la question. Oui, tout à fait. il y a toujours de l'intérêt de deux parties,
Key amongst ours are agriculture, and I think
l'agriculture
Ecuador's point of view,
et de notre point de vue pour l'Équateur,
they produce and export a lot of
ils produisent
For a second, we don't have
une minute, nous n'avons pas de traduction. Il y a quelque chose qui cloche dans cette salle.
Okay, just pause for a moment.
Arrêtez-vous une seconde, s'il vous plaît.
Someone say something in English, please.
Dites quelque chose en
Okay, I think we're back on. Okay, please continue.
Would you like me to start again? Est-ce que tu veux que je recommencer? Oui, okay. Okay. So yes, in any free trade agreement negotiations, each side has interest. In this case, we both have agriculture interests, and as the member noted, our key agriculture interests are on wheat and lentils, I would add, and oats. From Ecuador's interest, they are a large producer of cut flowers, many different kinds of cut flowers, roses, carnations, etc. Our MFN tariff on that is, depending on the type of flowers, about 10%. So we do have FTAs with some other cut flower producers in South America, for example, Colombia. The Colombian flowers come in duty free if they're grown in the country, and Ecuador flowers right now would pay a tariff. So that's their key interest.
Dites-moi, existe-t-il dans plusieurs secteurs, évidemment, il y a des produits que nous ne produisons pas ici, il y en a d'autres qu'on va produire et que ces accords vont sans doute...
There are products which could
nos secteurs analogues aux leurs. Est-ce qu'il y a eu une
competition.
ici pour qu'ils sachent quels produits s'en viennent?
So people should know here what
During the consultation,
products are coming.
is there a problem?
C'est Mme Fortier qui va nous faire l'interprétation.
Okay, keep going, please.
So during the consultations, we heard from most export interests. We didn't hear from any Canadian companies that had an interest in import interests, if I understood your question correctly. Si j'ai bien compris la question, c'est plus les liens entre les
So if I understood you correctly, in fact, my question is for several of these products. We have an agriculture here, and the conditions will not be the same. So it's competition for a local product. And was anybody consulted for it?
Everyone, both with an export interest and an import interest, of course, were consulted. Did not hear anyone concerned about the competition from any producers or exporters in Ecuador.
Pourriez-vous d'ailleurs nous informer au niveau de la transparence sur ce qui a été fait? Quelle a été la nature de la consultation? Combien de jours?
How transparent was this consultation? How long did they take?
One that we usually use, as I mentioned earlier, or as was mentioned earlier, Minister made the announcement of notice of intent in Parliament, and then we launched the consultation process. I think it was on for a month, 30 days through the Canada Gazette process. So I think so 30 days of outreach. And we received, as I mentioned previously, we received a number of emails, letters from interested parties, and as I said, we continue to be open to hear from other parties if they were missed during the consultative process. They can get in touch with Global Affairs through our general email address.
Dites-moi combien de points de vue vous avez reçus dans le cadre de votre consultation?
How many points of view did you, how many positions did you hear? Indications of interest?
Do you have the exact number? I don't have the exact number in front of me.
So we received around 30 submissions in total, but some of those would be aggregated